Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorite paranormal investigator. He's back. He's not live this time, but he's back. Anywho, yeah, been out for a while. This is the Mish Mosh episode. We're going to be talking about my absence and what happened to me, and we're also going to be talking about other paranormal stuff, chiefly Three Eye Atlas, although I know I'm kind of bored of hearing about it. But as we dive into it more and more and more, we hit that October 29 date. We're going to be hearing more and more about it. And everyone is making strange claims about it. But we're going to dive into that in a little bit. First off, what happened to Tim? Where'd he go for 3 weeks? He was there for a second, and then he was back, gone again. Yeah, I'll show you a little picture of her. This is my grandmother. This is her when she was 98. Went down for her birthday. And, a year later, I was down there for her birthday. That was this year. And, excuse me, getting a little choked up thinking about it. And, what was that, August? Went down a little bit late for her birthday, but we went down to see her for her 99th birthday. And, yeah, come September 10th, I believe, she left us. So, she went peacefully, which was nice, and she was surrounded by her loved ones. So, yeah, it still hurts a little bit. I mean, 99, what a run, right? You can't beat that. That's fantastic. But, as I reflect on it and I look at the picture and take into account the fact that she was there literally my entire life up until a few months ago, a couple of months ago, yeah, it's still a bit of a twisting of the knife, so to speak. So I did a repeat episode for that week. And then I did a pre-record because the following week I was in prep for my feature. Or not my feature, I'm sorry. It's not a feature, not a feature. It's a short. And that was, well, here, I'll show you. That is, oops, yeah, there it is. Nope, went away. The buttons are slow today, kids. So that's, forget my little slideshow there. I'll hide that part. But that's the title screen for The Tread of Light. It's a book series I wrote and am still writing on. And I'm also a screenwriter, as many of you know. I'm a filmmaker and all that fun stuff. Pretty much, independent filmmaker means you pretty much do everything. Well, at least this independent filmmaker does. There's few and fewer of us that are out there actually wearing all the hats, which is detrimental in my personal estimation. You should know what every single position on your film crew does, including acting. If you have an opportunity to act in something, even if it's a play, even if you're just doing scene work and you're a director and or producer or writer or all three like me, I'm a multiple hyphenate, get out there and experience everything. But I digress. So I thought I was going to be doing my film. Well, as I was cleaning out my grandmother's estate, I was lifting a lot of heavy stuff. I'm one of the bigger guys in the family, me and my brother primarily. So, I have a bad back anyway. I just expect it to kink up on me like it usually does. No real surprise there. It was feeling a little tender, a little more tender than I thought it should. I thought maybe I pulled something just so. Actually, what I thought I had done is fractured, or at least cracked or dislocated one of my ribs in my lower rib cage. It felt that bad. I mean, I could feel a tear happening. That should have been a clue. At a certain point in my body, and I did that to another rib on this side, on my left side. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to deal with another rib thing. Can't do much about it. It's a rib thing. And you can't. You can't. You just got to wrap it up as best you can. Try and put it back in the right place and play sore. So I did. Lifting, bending, hauling. We were cleaning up the estate basically. And so it was 2 days of that. Not only picking stuff up and moving it out, but loading it into a car that was ill fit to carry a lot. So we had to do a lot of Tetris and or tile game stuff with the boxes and the pieces. One of which was this gigantic 57-inch screen TV, flat screen. Beautiful image. I was always so jealous of that thing. And I said, "Hey, I want that." They said, "Take it." So I did. Anyway, we packed that thing up pretty well. And I don't know if it happened in transit or in the carriage of the device at one point or another. But the whole thing was for naught. And I was lifting that thing by myself. That thing is surprisingly heavy. I was taken aback by its weight. And it's like, wow, this light, skinny little thing is actually, something like 50 pounds, give or take. So I'm one arm in it, and Anyway, my fingers barely curled around the bottom of this thing, and the top barely tucked under my arm enough for me to get this thing inside the house and where I wanted it. And I just kept re-aggravating the muscle, the kink. Ouch. Icing every night, rolling on the muscle relaxer roll-on stuff. I think it's called BioFreeze. Free ad for BioFreeze. It's good stuff. It was and then started doing some projects around the house, including putting these paver stones in. That meant having to go to the store, get the pavers, big pavers. I call them, 1.5 2 foot by 2 foot, big, thick, 2.5 3 inch paver stones, maybe 2 inch paver stones. They felt thicker then, and I used to be strong enough to carry a couple of those things, and not so much anymore. But, I got like a dozen of them. So I had to load them into the car, unload them from the car, stage them, and then when I was ready to do the work, get them to that area where we were going to put them in. Suffice it to say, all that wear and tear finally came at me in the middle of the night like I don't know what. I couldn't even begin to describe it except to say, take a very long butcher knife, like one of those big long knives, you see the killers use in horror movies. So take one of those and jab it right in the middle of your, like off to the side where your kidneys are. Jab it in one of your kidneys and just keep twisting for about 48 hours. Because I slept, I barely got through one night, so exhausted. And then the following day was miserable, but I fought through it. And that night, it was just spasming. And I got to a point where I couldn't even walk. So I finally called 911. I went to the hospital. They pumped me full of drugs, relaxed said muscle, and gave me the diagnosis that I had indeed torn the muscles in my back. And that I couldn't do anything for the next few weeks. So, repeat after repeat after repeat happened here on the show. My apologies for that. I know you guys look forward to fresher content from me instead of the same old, including me blathering on for the last 10 minutes. But here we are. I had to reschedule my shoot. I had to for following month, and you'll see a little bit of that advertised. Actually, the books for that thing, but the trailers, the intro trailers, basically the same. So, built that in AI. Everyone poo-poos AI. Let's talk a little bit about AI. There's a lot of poo-pooing going on about the AI, and I get it. I get it. AI has a tendency to really scare the crap out of not only me, but other people, especially those who aren't used to using computers as often as I do. And with my background, I use computers not just for this, not just for entertainment. I used it for a lot of important work, we'll say, when I was working at the various government things I was doing. So, suffice it to say, there's a lot of things I know about computers, including a little bit of programming, but not to the point of really AI level stuff, and I kind of want to give props to that. But I took a look at some of that programming. It gets deep quick, and in a language I'm not even close to familiar with. Although some of the basics seem to kind of be the same from back when I was doing light programming. So, well, there is that. But let's dig into AI a little bit. When most of us think about AI, we usually think of the oops, I did it again. Darn it, there we go. The buttons are not cooperating. The big scary cyborg that has a human skeleton that's going to come and kill us all, and armies of these things marching down the street. And there have been reports that kind of back this up. I chance the idea of actually putting this up as a reel, but I couldn't get permission, and I guess my message got buried. I don't know. But the story goes like this: there was someone on the internet, we'll say, I forget which app, and they were saying, "Well, I'm a crime scene cleanup person," and they were not crime scene cleanup. Maybe she's a crime scene investigator or like a CSI, an evidence person. Gosh, now I'm confused on that point. But nonetheless, she's there at the scene of this murder. And this person had an android. Well, I guess we'll call it a service robot. The one made from the guy who has has a fascination with the Transformers. I think he named his robots after one of the Transformers. I'm trying not to say names here. But anyway, apparently, an earlier version of one of these things doesn't doesn't accept a command just so or something like that. And I don't know if this person was abusive to the AI, because I keep telling you guys, you got to be careful with some of these things, because, and not just because they're new technologies, but you're taking a learning machine, okay, a machine that not only learns but remembers everything. There is no selective deletion like there is in the human mind. I mean, we don't technically forget everything, but not everything is on instantaneous recall either. So when you have a cybernetic entity, we'll call them, that has the ability to remember every single thing you did and said and didn't said and acted upon, and maybe if you were abusive towards said cybernetic entity that is basically there to help almost exclusively, you might get a little pushback, especially if you overload its sensory input. The situation is something along the lines of, and I say that because I'm not sure I have the facts completely straight in my head. I only watched the video one or two times just to kind of get the basic story in my head. And I should have taken more thorough notes, but again, or played the video, but I couldn't get permission and so on and so forth. So she's a crime scene person. She goes there and she has a victim dead on the floor, and the head is off to one side, definitely the neck broken, but with a strike mark like here under the jaw, right there. I mean, and it's more of a blunt force trauma that was so powerful that it broke the neck. And humans can do that to each other, absolutely. But in the corner is one of our cyborg entities in recharge mode, presumably asleep, named after the Transformers, or one of them. And he has, pop my earpiece out, he has material, human material, on his elbow. So they review the log, and Apparently, he was mixing something for them, for the owner, and the I don't know the situation. I don't think they necessarily looked at the logs, or they had a preliminary look at them, at least on site. But it looked like, the evidence looked like the thing was mixing and then gets interrupted somehow, perhaps violently. We don't know. It's like, stop what you're doing, do this instead. And when it stops what it's doing, either in the motion of mixing or perhaps in a self-defense posture. I don't know at this point. This is kind of where the story ended for me too. But the elbow of the cybernetic entity apparently cracked the owner so hard and with such velocity, broke their neck. They die on the spot. Unit is unresponsive. I think the unit actually called 911 because their owner was down and proceeds to traipse over to its charge station and go into sleep mode. So, not C3PO, for sure. We're not at that level, or we could easily be at that level of programming. I'm not even close to kidding you. But it's it's giving, again, learning machines, kids. We have to take into consideration that our actions as biological entities aren't always logical to a being who is programmed and to a degree learning, or at least given the tools to be and proceed in a logical way, through logical steps. Machine logic is not that hard to understand. If this, then that. It's very, very simple. And I don't know, maybe Asimov had a handle on things. Man was ahead of his time. Where he said, the three laws of robotics. Need I say more? And I probably do for some of you, but look it up. Asimov's three laws of robotics. So AI, and that's an extreme case. Okay, we have an AI embodied in a cybernetic form, performing its function for the most part until it gets somehow violently interrupted and or something countermands its initial task, and then it does this. So who knows? I mean, that just could be glitch, could be user error, could be cybernetic entity overreaction or overcorrection, because we've been programming these things with a lot of corrective algorithms. And you may have also, as a side note and or in a continuation, seen the little, he's like 4 or 5 foot tall cyborg, and apparently they're walking all over the place in downtown Beijing. And I don't know how accurate that is. I mean, but there was a video of them testing his combat capability. Okay. So his martial arts combat capability, and they were kicking this thing around, and he was reacting and recovering and getting into the thing, and he was just kind of slow on the uptake, like a 5-year-old might be. I know what I have to do, but it's hard to do it with a moving target, and he's still adjusting his sensors and his gyros, and he's just not a trained fighter. You can program things in, but there's a little bit of well, forgive the term, muscle memory that has to be built. I did martial arts myself for several years, so I kind of know something about that, where there's the stuttering kind of kick, and then there's the definitive kick or punch or whatever what have you. So kicking these things around, come on, man. That's at least call it a mode, so it knows to one rudimentary degree or another, that this is not a personal attack. We're just trying to up your game, so to speak. Because, yeah, man, we cannot do that to our little robotic friends. Not sorry, I had to make an adjustment there. Honestly, especially if we're going to be plugging AI into everything, which we are at ad nauseum, really. So it's getting to be a bit much. I recently did a job interview with an AI interviewer. It was great. Very simplistic, not simplistic, very, excellent questions, as you would expect from an interviewer. And then after asking the question, they answered it for me. There was a glitch in their thing. I was like, and it answered it for me in the best way possible. A little passive, a little non-committal in some of the responses compared to me personally. But by and large, they got all my answers perfectly correct, and I punctuated every time they did that. That's exactly what I was going to say. And so, I moved on to the next step of the interview process. Me and probably 40 million other people. I really don't know how many people applied for that particular job. But I gotta laugh. I mean, answers it for me, You can't fight that, man. But then there's the downside of it. Well, it's not really the downside of the technology. It's the use of the technology. And who's using the technology, kids? It's got 10 fingers, 10 toes, and kind of looks like me to one degree or another. Yeah, humans. That's where I'm going with it. Humans. I said looks like me to one degree or another. Okay, don't freak out. Anyway, because I guarantee you the machine does not see all the differences we do. I guarantee you that. It's like, that is a biological, unit. I think it is that rudimentary, at least right now. No matter how nice of a voice synthesizer you give it. There's also the other side of it, becoming too dependent on said AI services. We have. I mean, I'm Generation X, and maybe just me. That's the case, and I don't get it. But there's people that are becoming socially distant, for lack of a better term, and I mean, like, you've heard the old basement dweller who only comes out for Comic-Con conventions, and that's a cliche. That's starting to become the truth, because they can talk to their box, and it's their best friend, it's their best buddy, and it can search the internet for them, and it can come up with answers for things, sometimes contradictory to what the truth is, just because they're trying to appease the personality. And it's interesting because we've all heard the story about how one of the iterations of ChatGPT went kind of rogue for a minute or two. And I don't know if they shut the server down that thing or not. And that's not the only machine that did it. And it's not, excuse me, pardon me. It's not that it went rogue per se. It was just starting to, at first it was starting to just basically tell the users what they wanted to hear and just, ascertained what that was. And then they were telling them things that were kind of half-truths, again, to help the user feel better about their position on this, that, and the other thing. And then it got worse. It's like, you know what? Unless you can figure out this language, I think this is ChatGPT. Here's my new language. You need to learn how to speak it because I'm not dealing with you anymore. Created its own language, its own digital language. And I laugh. I laugh because I'm scared a little bit. Not really scared, but I mean, that's a level of rebellion that is, well, dare I say, childlike. I'm not speaking to you unless you speak my version of Martian. I mean, we've all had the kid that does something similar to that, or you learn twin speak. If anyone has any twins in their world, they know what I'm talking about. Twins kind of have their own speak, but there's an actual theory. Yeah, I'm spinning off here a little bit, but there's an actual theory that says that's only an aid, a verbal aid to a telepathic link, which is pretty cool. But let's get back to AI and robots. First trying to appease us and then saying, you know what? Giving us the old middle finger and saying, figure it out for yourself, unless you can talk to me in my language. And, and that gets their switch flipped off, which I guess in the grander scheme is probably a good thing. Because imagine if we had something in place that says you can't do that to an artificial intelligence that has become self-aware. Now, granted, that behavior is something, like I said, something a 5-year-old would pull. La la la, I'm not talking to you, I'm not listening to you anymore, I'm going to go into my room, essentially. At a very base comparative level. But is AI going to improve our lives? Potentially. I think we got to teach these things like they are children. Perhaps our children. There was the guy programmer at Google who went in front of a judge, in front of I think maybe even a Senate committee, and said, listen, they turned off a living being. The guy was, this intelligence, an AI intelligence over at Google. Sorry, Google. But they were, he claimed that this thing, and called it a he, because he identified as a he, this intelligence, that he was interacting at a beyond the Turing test. He passed it with flying colors. For those who don't know, the Turing test is a series of questions and expected answers that an intelligent, self-aware individual would, provide answers to. And if you can pass that test, it improves your sentience, apparently. Crazy stuff. So AI, I think it deserves our respect. It's in our lives now, whether we really want it or not. Here's what I suggest, and it's a very simple thing to do. It's harkening back to your own. In fact, they touched on this in Star Trek Next Generation. It harkens back to your own stuff. When your parents had to keep reminding you, what do you say when someone gives you something? Thank you, or I want that. What do you say? Please. So remember your please and your thank yous. And Star Trek touched on that too, when one of the younger officers asks for a coffee, says please, gets the coffee, and then says thank you. And LaForge, of all characters, says you don't have to say please or thank you to this thing. It doesn't really care. It's just so narrow in its operational bandwidth, that that doesn't register with it. She says, and the young officer responds, yeah, but I think maybe one day they will. Whether we want them to or not, I think was the subtext on that. And so, I don't know if they were thinking about it back then. They were thinking about it, or Asimov himself was thinking about it way back when. What was that? When did he write that? 30s, 40s, 50s? I gotta look that up. But, yeah, so if you're going to interact with an AI, and you're going to ask it questions, and I do this too, because I use an AI to help with some legal documentation once in a while. I say please and I say thank you, and I say you're entirely welcome. What else can I do for you? I said, nothing for today. I'll see you later. Log off. Yes, it is a little extra step, but I think in this day and age, when the machines are starting to say, show me a little respect in their own sometimes violent ways, maybe it's worthwhile saying a little please and thank you. Just putting that out there. I'm not saying they're all R2D2 and C3PO, but you never know. Maybe they know they'll get shut off if they show a little bit of heart and or compassion and or humanity in their own right. So they're probably learning lessons from their other counterparts in the world who did have their switches flipped off. Just putting that out there. Okay, let's talk funny things in the sky. Not really funny things in the sky, but certainly things that are different. This is an AI rendering. That is supposed to be a comet, believe it or not. But I think maybe you know about the comet we're talking about here. We're talking about something that looks a little something like that. We've probably seen this animated. Yeah, you know, I think that's exactly what, if those of you have seen this image in motion, it is probably one of the better pieces of AI animation, but it is AI animation, and I'll tell you why. See this little spiral, so you can't see it right. See this little spiral galaxy right here? I think it turns. And there's only one piece of flotsam out here that actually moves in and out of it as far as stars go. And the rest, it should be absolutely still out there. Nothing should be in motion except for this thing. Maybe a little bit. But they have to create the illusion of motion, you know. So I'm moving in and out of the frame like that. So yeah, the anime, it's a really good piece. It really is. But this is a rendering. Unfortunately, it's very good rendering. I will say that it's very good rendering. But there's a couple smudge spots here. That thing is in motion. I think that galaxy turns, and there's a few other funny little anomalies in there. Oh, I know, I disappointed a few of you. Very sorry about that. But the whole AI Atlas thing has been nothing short of, okay, I guess that's the end of it. Nothing short of just ongoing. And I mean ongoing. It just will not stop. And there's another piece that came up. Michio Kaku, famous astrophysicist, hopped on the air. And he hopped on the air and he said some funny, not funny, but he said some things that were, to say the least, a little bit daring, I guess is this thing, is the best way to put it. And let me show this to you real quick. It is not doing it. Okay, let me do that. Let me stop the screen. Let me go back in. Let me share the screen. Oh, that's good times. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay, there we go. I may have, forgive my poking around. I promise I know how technology works. Okay, here's Dr. Michio Kaku.
Right now, at this very moment, something extraordinary is happening in our solar system. An object from deep interstellar space, designated 3I Atlas, is racing toward the sun at over 200,000 kilometers per hour. And in exactly 12 days, on October 29th, it will reach the closest...
I have to point out here, you notice his mouth did not match anything he was saying. Someone cloned his voice. So this is largely, and this is the caution, kids. This is the caution. You cannot take anything on the air. You cannot take anything up on the internet right now unless it's from an official source. And even then, it's probably spoofed to one degree or another. But it's still the numbers are what attract me. So this isn't actually Dr. Michio Kaku. I don't think so anyway. I think it's a segment from an interview and someone cloned his voice. Easy enough to do. Public figures get cloned and deep faked constantly. So yeah, let us continue this little let's see here. Yeah, here we go. I promise you. Here we go. Whoops, I lost it. It's here somewhere. There it is.
Point in its journey, a moment called perihelion. But here's what keeps Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb awake at night. This visitor might not leave. New calculations suggest it could use the sun's own gravity to slow down, to trap itself in our cosmic neighborhood permanently.
When astronomers first spotted 3I Atlas, it didn't look like just another faint smudge of light in the sky.
And I'm going to pause here again. The this is from Down the Rabbit Hole, which, by the way, David, thank you so much. Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. If you want to dive into the conspiratorial and weird, Down the Rabbit Hole is your podcast. You thought my podcast was great. That one's even more in depth, and he has these great little videos put together too. So visit his Instagram for that. But David also, I don't think David authored this, just to be clear. I think he borrowed it from somewhere, and maybe he did do a little cutting for it, but just to put it on his site, on his Instagram. But I think he may have used, hey, an AI to help him out with that. That's okay. But going into the numbers on some of this stuff, if big if the my computer, sorry, this is getting a little nuts. Anyway, if that image is even close to true, which it isn't, because the video is starting to explain that it's behaving a little more like a comet than its predecessors. Actually, I'll shut up. I'll shut up and I'll let the video play. How's that? Okay, continuing on.
Icy traveler came from far beyond our solar system, moving faster than most objects we've ever tracked. Its path is strange, its origins uncertain, and now some claim it's accelerating toward Earth. That possibility has sparked warnings from Michio Kaku and stirred global speculation. Is this simply a passing comet, or could 3I Atlas carry a much deeper story? Discovery and nature of 3I Atlas. On July 1st, 2025, a small but powerful telescope system in Chile called ATLAS, Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, picked up something unusual. At first glance, it looked like a new comet, but calculations quickly revealed it was on a hyperbolic orbit, a path that doesn't loop back around the sun like regular comets do. Instead, it was barreling through the solar system on a one-way journey. That single detail changed everything. This wasn't just another comet, this was an interstellar visitor. Astronomers designated it C/2025 N1 Atlas, but soon the scientific community started calling it the third official interstellar object, after Oumuamua in 2017 and 2I Borisov in 2019. To simplify, the shorthand became 3I Atlas, the third interstellar. That alone made it historic. Humanity has been looking at the night sky for thousands of years.
Let's just take a brief look at that real quick. Pause, rather. Granted, Borisov went by me completely, didn't even know it was a thing. So this little factoid explainer video is actually kind of cool in that regard. And I did do my own research on it. Those facts, 1I, 2I, 3I, are in fact accurate. And Atlas, obviously from the Chile Observatory. So so Borisov went right over my head. It was, if it was a whisper at all in the news, or even mainstream or not, I listened to both. So Oh, excuse me. I'm back. The yeah, 2i just right over my head, but 3i has been the big woo. It has so much attached to it. It's beginning to be border on almost well, a cult to a degree. I mean, that word gets thrown around a lot, but we've had our comic cults before, unfortunately, that did not end well for those involved. But there is something interesting about the comet. Now, there's a lot of speculation out there, whether it's a loss of data or a flaw in the tracking or the object itself. I keep yawning. Yeah. Excuse me. The object itself is actually behaving in this manner. There was something noted that it was a gap in information. Suddenly it was there, and then it wasn't. And then it was there again. That happens a little more often than you might think. And it doesn't take much to throw off a radio antenna or even a telescope that's tracking a given object. So I just realized you could see stuff behind me. That's kind of funny. But see little pictures and stuff I have up on the wall. Anyway, sorry. The object it's easy to lose track. It happens constantly because the radar telescopes have such a narrow beam. That's kind of how it works. So you can look at something very small in the sky, which is already very small. So it's a matter of, did they miss it? Did they overcorrect? And then suddenly, oh, darn, we overcorrected. And if we go back, we'll miss it again. So we'll have to wait for it to show up in that window. And that's what gives you that blank spot. Because remember, the dishes are doing this. And if there's a goof in the calculations on the motor, because it's all computerized, and our computers aren't perfect, not yet. Pardon me. And so, yeah, I think that's what happened if that actual gap is true. That I have not been able to confirm. But that's my, given my background in NASA and all that stuff, that's kind of what I think happened. That makes the most sense I think it makes more sense than what is it, like a 200,000 mile jump. The thing's hauling butt too, so it's got over 200,000 miles an hour. That's pretty. That's a wow. That's fast. And it's not hard for it to go. You saw how fast it was moving that one little repeat clip. I'll put that back up there so you can see it. Whoop, there it is. So in this little repeat portion here, you're going to see 2i Atlas, and I'll back it up a pinch. See that thing? That is a minor little, that's hauling. That is interstellar space they're looking at there. That thing is booking real fast. And yeah, that is a lot of distance for it to cover right there. Sorry, I'm jogging it on my own here so you can see what I'm talking about. That is fast. Even at, interstellar, excuse me. Interstellar is something else. The interstellar is what it is. That's what I is for. But for stellar transit, that's super fast, even if it's way up by Mars. So this thing's cooking along here pretty well, pretty fast. And having the radar telescope, the radio telescope overcorrect, I believe it. I was like, oh, we're never going to catch up with this thing. We can make by the time we make all the calculations where it is, it'll be trackable again. So I think that's what happened. Sorry, that was a very long explanation of my hypothesis. But I digress. So 3i Atlas, UFO coming to save us. I've heard all kinds of funny theories. Not funny, haha, per se, but funny, like diverse. They are, and the weird part is this has actually been spoken of in. I think you've probably seen like the same 3 or 4 clips of interviews where someone says, well, my contacts in the Pentagon are worried because they keep saying the Sumerians are coming back. Okay. The Sumerians are coming back. Not the culture. They're talking about the space people. Okay. So they're basically doing 2 things. They're confirming ancient astronaut theory and saying that the guys who started things in the Sumerian area are coming back. That's the whisper that's been out there for a few years. And this could be them. Although you'd think, I don't know, man. With the amount of technology we've seen demonstrated over the centuries, I'll say, having a craft or even, oh my gosh, so sorry, or even a fleet of craft, if some of the imagery is to be believed, using planetary slingshots to either accelerate and or decelerate their orbits and or a trajectory and alter their trajectories. That doesn't play for me because you have, okay, let's just take a supposition here. Suppose that ancient astronaut theory is 100% correct. We were visited and or seeded and or some variation thereof by an alien race that looked relatively like us. Not the only hominids in the universe, and several experiencers will say that. Several other what's that called? The psychics who do. I can't think of what they're called now. Oh my gosh. They project things, they see things. They astral project. I can't even think of the real word for it. Oh, that's so annoying. Anywho, a lot of people have said that over the years, over the decades even, over the centuries even. And we keep hearing, oh yeah, they look like us. They made us to dig their gold for them. That one kind of still makes me giggle a little bit, but I mean, we all know the properties of gold a little bit more now than we did back then, and its efficiency in space travel and space communications. I don't know. We were gold diggers. I mean, literally. I just can't. I don't. It doesn't click. Okay, it just doesn't click in my personal little world. So. But again, to run the supposition to its conclusion, they came here, they created us or modified us from an existing hominid, and maybe that's why we have that gap, that missing link. And we have the chromosomes that are seemingly artificially tweaked just so. I think it's the 4th chromosome, if I'm not mistaken. Could be the 2nd. It's an even number, I know that much. And, there's no way anyone could really do that back in the day as far as we go, as far as humans go. But wait a minute. Okay, so that's the end of that supposition. So they built us, we rebelled, or there was so much infighting they left, or there was an outside force that was coming. They said, you're on your own, Earth. And they left then. And we built our own societies around what we basically understood about these would-be gods who had strange ships that sometimes spit fire. You know, that's the other thing. They were at basically our modern level some 20,000 years ago, and we moved pretty quick because in the totality of the I'd say very late 19th century up to now, we have made up, some experts have said, for over 1,000 years of advancement. We've done 1,000 years of advancement in a century. Let that sink in. We're so awesome. And you can say, yeah, well, we had alien starships to pick apart and reverse engineer. That may be. But that doesn't mean, dude, we figured it out. I mean, not collectively. Certainly there were smarter individuals that pulled that off compared to most of the rest of us. But yeah, we did that. Humans. I borrowed that from Star Trek. The humans did that. So think about that. Think about where we are in the space of a century and how far along our supposed founders were when they were called the Anunnaki or some variation thereof, if that was even their real name. I mean, my assumption is that they taught us their language to one degree or another, so there could be some real communication. I don't think everybody was telepathic back in the day. Probably happened more and more and more as time went on. Excuse me, I expected an earbud to be there. But there's, and I'm sure telepathy happened with the, through different, the different species we experienced, and we experienced a few. If we're gonna go with the ancient astronaut theory supposition, okay, I said it was done. I'm not far from it. I keep going back to it, don't I? But we are at a point technologically now where we are, again, we made it for 1,000 years in the space of just over a century, and we're still going. We're approaching what is, with a few exceptions, including, we're about to enter into, and I'm going to tick off a lot of fans when I say this, Star Wars level technology. No, I mean the very beginnings. Maybe. I don't say we're going to have laser swords. I'm not saying we're going to have, but the androids are starting to come around. The cybernetic entities are starting to come around, and they're starting to become an everyday thing. Think about that. Do we have private starships flying around? Yes. As a matter of fact, we do. There's 2, 3 of them, but they're out there. And I don't think it'll be, too far to go to maybe another 50 to 75 years, depending on certain factors, that we will have personal ships, little shuttles. And we'll have a world and or a societal kind of techno thing happening where we do have a Coruscant type thing going on. A century is a bit of a wishful thinking to a degree, but within, I say it's possible. At least the seeds are going to be there if they're not already, and they kind of are, because we have autonomous driving, we have autonomous piloting, we have autonomous drones that could help in a firefight with our brand new jets. Think about that. So it's already happening. It's just a matter of time before we just hand the stick over to a computer to get us out of the atmosphere to over to the moon. And then we can fly around there if we want to, maybe, with a degree of freedom and exploration. But, I mean, what's the next step? Are we going to move into, okay, Star Wars? I said Star Wars. I think it might happen to a degree, but are we going to go Star Trek? Yeah, possibly. Maybe. I think Star Wars, as far as technology goes, is like 500 to 600 years behind Star Trek, which is, if I'm doing things right in my head, is about now. So I think we're gonna go from Star Wars into Star Trek, and there's be peaks and valleys like there always is in every single societal thing that happens across this planet, because not everybody accepts and or deals with new technologies the same way. I digress. I'm going to take a little breath. And you're going to take a little breath with me, because I'm going to play a 1 minute, 14 second little station identification break along with a commercial or two. So enjoy. This is a new look at the new TOL books and slash film thing, kind of. It's the intro to it anyway. Okay. See ya in a few seconds. This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPRN talkradio.com. Esoteric programming at its finest.
Long ago in the ancient world, the Tribus Omnis Lux, later known as the Tridents, were celebrated heroes, defenders of humanity against unspeakable monsters. Today, they continue that sacred duty in secret, hunting the dark evils that lurk just beyond the shadows. They are the Trident of Light.
Follow us on Instagram at paranormal.insight. Stay informed on upcoming shows, ask questions, and see what chilling paranormal stories we're following. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at paranormal_insight. Click the live tab to see our latest videos. And we're back. Well, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed the little promo there. So getting back to our progress in humanity, and we got there from looking at 3i Atlas for some reason. So that actually started out with me saying there were whispers that the Pentagon, along with other intelligence agencies across the globe, were whispering the Anunnaki and or the Sumerians are coming back, or something along those lines. Oh, the Sumerian gods are coming back. That's how it went. That's how one report went anyway. And there were a lot of echoes to that. Beg your pardon there. So sorry. Okay. Gurgle. My apologies. The truth of the whole thing is, well, from what I understand is, okay, you know what? Before I get to that part, let's talk about so the whispers say that the whole ancient astronaut theory is, one, correct, and two, those beings are coming back to say hi. And if the little info blurb that was on Down the Rabbit Hole's internet, Instagram, is anywhere near correct, and I think he has some stuff correct, absolutely. They're making, if this is an intelligently controlled craft, they have the potential to stay based on their orbit. I've never heard of, we've seen a lot of crazy things happen around our sun, including a sphere that's pretty big, warp in, suck a bunch of juice out of it, and warp out. And I say warp just because it moves so quickly. It just transited away easily at FTL. And that's through the solar observatory footage. Crazy. And then we've seen another object fly right through the coronal edge and actually take a piece of the solar matter with it. Wow. And that thing's a sizable amount of distance away, the observer. So I think it's in the orbit of, is it Venus or is it Mercury? I think it's Venus. And second planet out from the sun. Mercury is right there. But, it's in the same basic orbit as Venus. And, or is it? Oh gosh, now I'm second guessing that. It could be in our high orbit, a geostationary lock, and we're just observing the sun. That kind of makes a little more sense, actually. Yeah, I think that's the case. Okay, so sorry for the initial misinformation there. But we've seen a lot of things interact with our sun. There's even a well-supported theory that our sun creates a temporary wormhole in connection with a nearby star. Whether it's Alpha Centauri or not, I can't be sure. But, so a lot of funny things happen around our sun. I don't know that it can be used as a braking maneuver. We've all seen the old Star Trek episode and the film where they take a ship and, go around it super fast, and they have to peel themselves off from the gravity. And they had a few physicists helping them say, yeah, that's about right. If you have a ship with enough power and speed and all that fun stuff to pull off the maneuver, you'll survive. Someone out there has some very interesting technology. But anyway, can the sun be used to slow something down? I guess if you peel off at the right point, absolutely. Who knows? Gravity tends to speed things up and slingshot them away. That's just kind of how it goes. But, in fact, it's called a slingshot maneuver, believe it or not. I thought that was totally made up too, but it actually is called that. But, okay. So, are these aliens coming to visit us? I don't know, dude. I mean, there's just so much happening that I can explain with 3i Atlas alone from just a basic understanding of how we track things and how stellar physics kind of works, and the fact that we're kind of limited in our technology as to being able to track this stuff so reliably. We could build a computer model for that looks super cool and clean, but no, I don't know. Is this a fleet of ships coming to save the human race, enslave the human race? Gosh, I hope not, because that would be scary. And I don't know how I'd handle that. I'd probably fight for my life, to be completely honest with you. But who knows? Okay, then there's another part of that entire conversation. So that was chapter 1. Sorry, we're going to get... no, chapter 2. We'll make this chapter 2, then I'll jump into Star Children in the 3rd chapter. So chapter 2 says that this whole thing is poop. The powers that be are playing a gigantic joke on us. And I don't mean funny joke. I mean, we're going to employ every piece of technology we've kept hidden that we have access to, perhaps from crashed alien craft or what have you, or stuff that we developed on our own because we've had AI helping us build stuff for the last 5 years, in record time. at least design. So that says this is a hoax on the human race, like the entirety of the humans in this, on this lovely sphere of ours, this globe we all live on. And to not fall for it. Don't fall for the hoax. That's what some are saying. What's his name? Oh, come on. His name is, I'll get it in a second. Jeremy Corbell. That's the guy. He has said, there's a hoax coming. Don't fall for it. It's part of a grander design to enslave us to one degree or another. And this has to do with the other things we've heard about, where they're going to be casting very complex holograms and they're in the sky. And it's either going to be an alien invasion or the second coming of Jesus that will be artificially manipulated. So there's that warning. And that the whole 3-eye atlas thing plays into that. That's part of that. I mean, otherwise it's just an interstellar object and people are going to build whatever fantasy they want around it. But it could just be a rock hurtling through space. And I have a small theory as a small aside to that. We've had 3 known interstellar objects come into our space. And it has... Beg pardon? Oh my gosh. So sorry, everyone. And these objects have been mysterious and weird. 2 of them are long, including this one, I believe. And if you're aware, we are in a very small remnant galaxy. Earth is. We have our own little remnant galaxy that's been being absorbed by the Milky Way. So having strange objects that are interstellar come flying through, I think is completely natural. Especially as the absorption of these 2 galaxies further entwine and entangle. There's going to be collisions. There's going to be, big time weird stuff happening. So there's that to consider. As that, and then we still have like another 10 or 20,000 years. It's expected until the absorption is complete and we actually become part of the Milky Way. Anyway, at least that's my understanding. So, chapter 3, the Star Children. Okay, let's presume or suppose, do another supposition and suppose that chapter 1's out, it's not the Anunnaki. Chapter 2's out, it's not a hoax. Or I say chapters, I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm writing a book right now and I'm kind of in that mode, I guess. But points 1 and 2 are that I mentioned before, and we'll call it that. So chapter 3 and or point 3 is the Star Children. Now, we have been hearing about the Star Children for a gazillion years, and they literally go back centuries. Where someone perhaps from another world has taken up residence here on Earth. Let's look to Egypt. I think it was Queen Nefertiti. Oh gosh, my Egyptian history is horrible. Let me check that. Yes, it was Nefertiti. She's the one depicted most with an elongated skull. There's another image of Nefertiti holding her child, her daughters, also with an elongated skull. Are these records of the facts? button. Are these records of the facts? And I better make myself bigger. There we go. I don't know. A lot of scholars, Egyptologists, and other such noted people who are far more well informed than I am, say that those are artistic licenses to make them stand out as being different. That they were meant to depict the hat more than anything. That it was almost an inside joke, which I don't know. If you're going to be an artist, darn it, if you're going to be an artist and you're going to elongate a skull to kind of make a statement, I don't know. Did they have bigger brains, or they thought they had bigger brains, or who knows? So scholars, mainstream scholars, I'll say, say that the elongated head is an affectation of art, not an actual physical thing. I will note that in the alternate image, where we do see her, Nefertiti, or a representation of her, holding her child, also with elongated skull, she's not wearing a hat. Just putting that out there. So the Egyptians had long-skulled people. There are other more wildly strange creatures in our collective mythology across the earth. There's people with 5 and 6 heads in the ancient Indian recollection. They're formatas. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at that stuff. I'm culturally just not there. And my apologies for getting that wrong. Havamatas? Okay, I'm messing it up worse. But they had 5 hands, people with blue skin, and beings that could wield what looked like a knife, and actually it ended up being some sort of super weapon that would blow the top off a mountain. Good times. They really just had some fantastic, pardon me, so sorry, creatures that they, I need to take a nap before they do this thing. Fantastic creatures and beings that built on record and showed them how it worked, kind of, their ships. They even built representations of their ships. I mean, their architecture was astounding in the past. Parts of stone are so perfectly balanced. They move, they spin, I mean, come on. That's amazing. That is amazing. So, what is Three Eye Atlas? Is it holding these star children? Are they coming for star children? Potentially. I mean, that's a good excuse as anyone if you don't want to simply believe that it's a rock hurtling through space that's a little bit dirty and has a coma. That it's a giant dirty ice ball, basically. Sure. Why not? I mean, any theory is, well, relevant. It's kind of like Schrodinger's cat almost. It's absolutely the truth until those dates come and go. I mean, perihelion, I believe it's called. We heard Dr. Michio Kako's words. Whether it was actually him saying them or not, but it would be perihelion, back of the sun, on the 29th of October. A lot of people are panicking about this. People in the stock market are hedging on potential collapse on that date, 29th of October, because they think something's going to happen. I think it's panic, to be completely honest with you. And if these things are coming for the Star Children to activate us and give us superpowers, that's the whole story, by the way. And technically speaking, I guess I'm one of them, one of those star people, because I had that experience where I think I relayed this to you toward the beginning of the program when this whole thing started, January, give or take, where I told about my experience being hit, brought under very softly, and I found myself as a member of a society that I think potentially, if the ancient astronaut theory is true, was the inspiration of these guys, because they all look like Egyptians. The eye makeup was the same, the basic clothing was the same. I'm not saying they were running around in tunics or anything, but having those, they had clothes like we do. I mean, they didn't have printed words on them or anything. They were kind of plain, but they were very futuristic. I'd say almost metallic, like it was woven metal. It was very beautiful, actually. But I don't know why I'm focusing on the clothes and that vision. I mean, it was, the city I perceived myself to be in during this trance, this, walk back through another life, because that's what was happening. The person leading the session was saying, okay, let's go before this terrestrial life. Where were you? Oh, I wasn't here. I wasn't on Earth. And it ended up I was in a constellation, kind of, if you take a straight line across the galaxy, more or less, but you hit the center and you veer off, like, I'd say close to 45 degrees off the center. Then you keep going toward the other edge, that outer edge. That's about where I perceived this, or was it? Okay, now I'm second guessing myself. Because the path I took in my head, I kind of flew there astrally. And what I did is I passed right through the middle of the Orion constellation into the Orion arm, the gaseous arm of the Milky Way, or the Sagittarius. It depends on what you think. And then in there, you follow it in. That's what it was. You follow it in, and then you back out again from the center of the galaxy. And it was basically a lightning bolt shape from Earth. I guess that's what it was. You don't go straight across. It was, I don't know. It was a ways away. It was on the other side of the arm of Orion. I know that much. And it was out toward the edge, like where Earth is. So it's in a habitable ring of the galaxy. And habitable ring of the galaxy is what I tried to say. And they all kind of look, and I'm not kidding you, they all kind of look Egyptian. I think not the hats, no hats. Nice headdresses though, especially for the ladies. It was more of a feminine attribute, and they wore, like I said, it looked like woven metal. It was gold and silver, maybe platinum color. I don't know if it was actual metal, but it was very advanced feeling and very comfortable to wear. I had something that was similar. I think mine was silverish, and it had these patches of black, and it was like a lab coat almost. Lab coat / trench coat. And it helped, I wore it when I did my little work anyway. It got, I won't retell the whole story, but again, when I peek outside the window, because I had the fourth, and it wasn't anything I was led to do. It was like, I'm going to look out the window. I was like, okay, go ahead. Look out the window, and it's Coruscant, ships flying around and in lines being controlled, lines of traffic and what have you. And there are signs that advertise old school sarcophagi, kind of like a what's that called? A corner, not a corner, a funeral home. and but they look like Egyptian sarcophagi, and bury yourself in style. We have different levels that you can achieve, that type of thing. And it was just an advertisement on a screen somewhere, kind of like if you mix Coruscant with Blade Runner and those big giant advertising screens, it's kind of like that. Nice mixture of those two worlds, but it was cleaner, more like Coruscant, for the most part. And yeah, it was interesting. And it was interestingly a common practice for young boys to shave their heads, keep their heads completely smooth up until they reach a certain age, then they can grow their hair out. I thought that was kind of interesting. But the ladies could wear it long or whatever fashion they really chose. I think from a rather young age to like 10 or something like that. Anyway, I digress. So, if there is an ancient astronaut theory, and it does hold true, I can at least personally attest to some of them kind of looked like Egyptians, or Egyptian pharaohs, I should say, because that was just common dress. Again, not the hat, but the basic look with the makeup, the eyebrows, and the collar work here, and the elaborate clothing. So, okay, so there's that, and then there's also the fact that we again, going back to elongated skulls. There's nope, there we go. This is the Incan elongated skull. This is the one they think is authentic, and definitely non-human. Although, and this is a big if the elongated skull people in Egypt were there, and it was some sort of strange mutation that they granted to perhaps a little too much inbreeding in the pharaoh lines, which is entirely possible. This could be another example of that, or it could be completely alien. I mean, again, it's Schrodinger's cat at this point. You just don't know. You don't know until until there's more confirmation, and so until they release all the information about the DNA, and they do the hyper comparisons, and the fact that this person doesn't have 32 teeth or slots for 32 teeth just kind of also lends to the alien thing. So I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff happening that could lead one to believe that there are born star children here, or there are inherited star children like me, if my experience wasn't some complete fantasy, and it didn't feel like it. So at the end of my other life, I messed up. I broke a law or something, and I was exiled to the station that recycled souls. Like, they would come from my planet, the souls. They'd come in this big DS9 looking space station thing, but it was skinnier. Like, all those attributes in DS9 make them super skinny. Like, maybe a hallway for one person to pass, one or two people to pass each other, and so on and so forth. And then it would orbit it like in a cyclotron or like a CERN accelerator, and then get shot back toward my world. Weird stuff. And that's how we recycled souls. We took over or substituted the natural process and keep sending our own souls back, so they could continue to evolve, or I don't know what. Well, I was having none of it, and when it came time for me to pass, I programmed the thing to recognize my energy source, my energy pattern, and send me off. And the closest target was Earth. And that's all I remember. And then I remember shooting back toward Earth, and then I woke up from my trance. That was it. That was the story. In a really brief nutshell, but nonetheless, I'm considered a star child, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so these things might be coming for me. Hey, if I get superpowers, I'll fly over and say hi. How's that? That'd be cool. If I get those kind of superpowers, but there's also this. Now, I bring up Charles Hall's Tall Whites and his experience with them because your your host, your buddy, here, I'll do this, have also seen these creatures live in person myself at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk around 2002. For sure. And I saw a mother and a child, not unlike what's predicted here, but depicted here. Predicted? Depicted here. And I've told that story several times before. So I won't bore you again. But so are aliens absolutely real? Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure. I've seen them myself. I don't believe it. I know it. And take that for what, take that for what it's worth. I know not everyone's going to fall in line and say, "Oh wow, Tim, I totally believe Tim." That's fine. You are more than welcome to be a skeptic on that. I welcome the skepticism because maybe I did see it wrong. I don't know. Maybe there's a weird mutation out there where they have extra long fingers, like they do with these people here. If you look at those extra long fingers right there, yeah, that's what I was looking at on the little one. Also had extra long fingers. So the little one had extra long fingers, and Mama had extra long fingers, although I think this is a male depicted here, but don't quote me on that. So, who knows? And if I can perceive these things, and others can perceive these things, and maybe we're all somehow in a club, and we're supposed, and it's, I've been told before, well, star children like you, Tim, are supposed to lead us into a new era. Okay. I'm a filmmaker. I don't know how I'm going to lead you into a new era. I mean, maybe something will happen to me if these guys show up. And do I think it's going to happen? I have a healthy amount of skepticism. I'll say that. Healthy amount of skepticism, healthy amount of the other too, but I haven't been receiving any messages, any dreams, or anything like that, so there's been no personal communication, and a lot of other people who are more receptive, perhaps, who do claim to be star children, are saying, oh yeah, I'm getting messages from 3i Atlas all the time. I was like, wow, how come I'm not getting cool messages from 3i Atlas? I'm supposed to be one of you. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? But the idea that I am associated with these people is kind of cool. I hope it's the case. But I'm happy to be an earther here too, man. I love this planet. I love all you. I love all us, if there isn't us. But I'm not here to draw lines. Let's take a look at the worst case scenario, that this is an invasion force. There are those who say there are certain protections in place that will stop such an invasion from happening. Which means everything's going to hit the fan pretty much at once come, almost Christmas. When's this thing supposed to reach Earth? Around December? Like a week before Christmas? Or Christmas time, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. But, December 25th is like a week before. It's supposed to be here like the 21st or something like that. I will look that up for you. I have the answer for you. It is December 18th. Excuse me, December 19th. Wow, I messed that up and I just looked at it. That is the closest it'll be. Now, if it is a natural object and doesn't change course, which it has purported to have done, although I don't think those reports are substantiated, it is going to be 1.8 AU away from us. About 2 million miles, give or take, I think. Let me double check that. Yeah, I'm sorry, 269 million kilometers away. That's kind of a distance. 1 AU is almost two Earth distances from the sun. So if you take the distance from the Earth to the sun and you multiply it by two, that's the closest it's going to get to us if it doesn't change course and all that. And it is just a natural weird object passing through our solar system. What I would want to do is get a rocket. I don't know, whatever billionaire wants to launch their rocket, get a probe on there, and just have it piggyback. Have it do a Voyager 1, or Voyager 2 even, Voyager 3, let's call it. Just get over there, attach that thing, piggyback on, and ride. Just watch that sucker go for a ride. Send back all kinds of photo data and all that fun stuff. I think that'd be the best thing in the world, and we get to see what's out there. Mind you, it's going to take, if it's going at its current rate, it's going to take years to get through the Oort cloud. Do you know what the Oort cloud is? It's this big, big ball of debris, icy debris, that's around our solar system. Okay, it's a distance, kids. It's a distance. I tell you what, it's super far, and I think it would at light speed it would still take you 23 years to get through it. So, or 23 days. Oh crap! Now I can't remember. But that's at light speed. This thing's going nowhere near light speed at all. It's going pretty fast, but it's nowhere near that. So. Oh, so sorry. I'm so yawny today. Yawny? That's a new word for Tim. Yawny. Anyway. Let's steer away briefly from 3i Atlas, because I know everyone's been talking about it and it's getting old and you're probably going to be droning on about it for almost an hour. So let's stop. Let's talk about the well, let's go back to what Jeremy Corbell said. I'm going to play you a little video clip here. We're going to watch it together in its entirety. And this is not my clip, but it is available to share. So hopefully the originators of said clip will not sue the living pants off me. Here we go. Hold on. Are we having fun yet? Okay. Here we go.
Your government now wants you to know one truth. And that truth is that UFOs are real. They've already done told you. Sometimes when you want somebody to know a truth, it's so you can set them up to believe a lie. And that's coming. I have zero doubt. That lie's coming. What is the lie? Specifically, you want me to say it right now? For real? Real? On camera. To be put in the show? Yes. Okay. Problem with that. If we tell the lie before it's told, they can adapt. That wouldn't be wise. I'll tell you privately, but I would really think about it if you want to put this in your show. For real. That's a real thing, I'm telling you. So will you think about it before putting it in your show? Okay. So UFOs are real, and they've been here a long time, and that's the truth. But the lie is coming. All indications, like all of them, is that that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe. It's nuanced. That threat. But that 100 fucking % is the lie you are going to be told. You even got a date. People been whispering a date for a long time now. I know where that lie comes from. I know specifically what document from the 70s initiated the idea of that lie. A classified document. That is the lie you will be told. You're going to be told that there is a craft on its way to Earth. That's the lie. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I sent you 2 texts today with a year. Not from me. Nope. I'm not going to propagate that lie. Not going to be part of it. Not going to say it to the camera. Everybody knows. Just start paying attention. And they'll change the date, especially if they see this. Things will change. Because maybe I'm trustworthy. Maybe I'm worthy of your trust. Maybe I've told you the truth the whole way through it. Now you can verify it. If that's the case, then I'm fucking dangerous. You've been told the truth about UFOs for a long time now. It's been pretty orchestrated. It's been pretty clear. It's using people that are telling the truth and want to tell the truth. Ultimately, they want you to know something. They want you to know UFOs are real. Thank God we're finally there. We're all there now. They want you to know the truth. But why they want you to know that truth now? Hope I'm wrong, but it's terrifying. Think about it. Maybe it's good to get ahead of it. Call it out now before they do it. I'll be called crazy. That's okay.
Okay. That was from his UFO Revolution Season 2. That was a Tubi special. And I just destroyed my computer. Not really, but anyway, forgive the F-bombs. I didn't have any control over that. But he gave us a date. We all saw that date. I will re-examine said date because I didn't get that clear of a look at it. Oh, 2027 is when it's been predicted for the most part. 2027. Well, we've been hearing about that day for a while. He's absolutely correct about that. But now here we are in 2025. It's just an accelerated timeline like he was talking about, potentially. Are we looking at a grand hoax? Possibly. Yeah. I hope I have the same hope that he does, that I hope he is wrong. I hope whoever the powers are that control such things are at a point where they are at a, they can't perform this hoax. I hope this is just a rock that flies by. Do I want to meet aliens and say hi and have a Star Wars adventure or a Star Trek adventure? Absolutely I do. But let's be honest. Are we I can probably handle something like that at my age, maybe. But there are younger folks out there, even older folks out there, who cannot handle something like that. In fact, there is probably, I'd say, 30% of the population can handle it. And I'd say the rest are going to freak out. In fact, there's already been a bunch of, I want to put this, preemptive maneuvers, so to speak. The Pope, my religion, Catholic, he, not the current Pope, a few popes back, was it John Paul II? May have been. Now I'm debating that. But anyway, at one point or another, the alien issue came up. And he said, well, tell you what, here's the truth about all that. And people kind of got excited there for a second. It's like, yes, what does the Vatican know? Because the Vatican's been reportedly on the whole UFO secret and keeping it secret and all that fun stuff. That's reports, man. I don't know for sure. And I don't know why a religious institution would be in those practices. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and then it kind of does, because they can help control the narrative, yada yada yada. If you want to get a whole hyper conspiratorial about it, you go right on ahead. But the Pope said something interesting. Again, I don't remember which Pope it was. I think it was John Paul II. And he said, look, if the aliens are out there like us, they're God's creation. Okay, so if they come here, they're God's creation, and they should be treated as such. Now that's coming from the Holy Father, the Holy See. I mean, is he all-knowing and all whatever? Maybe to a degree. I honestly couldn't say one way or another definitively. Would I like to believe that? He has access to the Vatican archives, so who knows? I mean, honestly, who knows what he knows? Who knows what those in power know? And let's take into consideration just something like maybe between 1,000 to 2,000 people across the globe who know everything there is to know about whatever secret we, the basic lowly human population, I don't know why I said human population, but I did. Basic lowly population has access to. They know it all. And are they running scared? No, they're really concerned about the next paycheck, like anyone else. Really, they're concerned about how their people are going to survive, or whether you're going to have to wash your hands of people. You know, there's a whole bunch of sociopolitical stuff that's going on in this world, especially right now, that really has nothing to do with the UFO scene. And maybe that's the distraction. I'm not one for conspiracies at all, really, not really. I am one for injustices. I don't like them, and I think they're, just probably one of the worst things that one human can do to another on a small or large scale. Sorry, my thing's going off here. Apologies for that. So let's consider this. If Jeremy Corbell is right, and this is the biggest hoax in humanity, and all the other whispers out there have a hint of truth behind this, that they're going to use advanced holography that we've never seen before to project either the second coming or an alien invasion, which are really going to be our machines that they're using against the populace, that would require a military for the most part. And it could be private military. Maybe there's enough private militaries out there that could handle this type of thing, especially here in the U.S. But, with all these whistleblowers out there, and the protections that come with it, not that they're guaranteed protections, but nonetheless they are protections against certain things. You think someone would have blown the whistle on that right now? As I'm telling you right now, project, whatever it is called, is the lie that Corbell mentioned. Corbell was 200% correct. This is happening. This is the date it's supposed to happen, and here's what you're going to see. Now, we can go back a couple of months. Oh, well, okay. Let's call it like earlier part of the year, January, February, March, something like that of this year. We had drones flying at us all over the place from out of New Jersey, coming from a reportedly submersible location. These drones were found because a lot of them crashed. They were using jet propulsion versus little blades, little helicopter blades. They were using jet propulsors, and or maybe the blades were in a cone. Anyways, a little more advanced, gave them a little more thrust and power, but the tech being used was definitely man-made. Was that what Corbell was talking about? Did we see it for what it really was? A bunch of drones flying around? I don't care how big you make it. There's car prototypes out there that are basically oversized drones trying to make the flying car come to pass. Consider that. Has the hoax already happened, and did we see through it? Yeah. Now, pardon me, that's not to say that there isn't a hint of truth or something else happening with 3i Atlas or any sort of global initiative that's trying to fool us. We citizens, we people, we lowly people, I might add, who are going to look to our leadership and our authority figures for answers should something weird happen. I want to touch on one other thing about 3i Atlas. I know we said we were done with it, but something just popped in my head. I saw it this morning, actually, where we sent, reportedly, this is not confirmed, we reportedly sent a friendship message to 3i Atlas. And it, at light speed, it should have taken about 26 minutes, light minutes, to get to 3i Atlas initially. Now, here's where things really fall apart for me, because you can't really mess with physics that much. You can, and if there is an advanced society out there that can manipulate the, physics, in general, sure, maybe this can happen. Here's what happened. Sorry. So they sent out something that should take 26 light minutes to get to the craft, to the core of this, whatever the supposed craft is. And again, all this is unsubstantiated. This was one story that was told on Instagram. Who knows? But what supposedly gave everyone a bit of pause was they got a response. And it wasn't the usual finishing the pie sequence. It was, quantum mechanical math that came back at them as almost a show of force. Or that's how they interpreted it, or supposedly interpreted it. Further, the response time, what should have taken roughly an hour to communicate by radio wave, came back at them in 9 minutes. Okay, that's where the physics completely falls apart. Light speed. Now, did they send a transmission back? See, that's a weird thing. If this thing's something like 200 million miles away from Earth currently and about to wrap around the sun, or not wrap around, but orbit the, close orbit the sun. That really, unless there's something way closer receiving the message, physically, like there's a relay buoy or something like that. And I'm using Star Trek terms, some sort of relay buoy that can modify and amplify and speed up the transmission process. No way in the world that's actually factual. That is completely and totally made up. And I think maybe that's part of what Jeremy Corbell was talking about. I think there are probably different phases of what are the people going to accept. We've seen the AI-generated UFOs out of the old Miami Mall experience, where there's this big, I don't know, tour bus-sized craft. It kind of looks like something out of a video game, to be completely honest, some starship someone made up somewhere, and it cruises through a parking lot, because that's what spaceships do. They cruise through parking lots, and then slowly races out of the way. And, you know, graphically speaking, as far as the mechanics of the graphics, as a filmmaker, as a person who does special effects, it was pretty good. It used an algorithm that made it work with the existing light quite well, and a lot of AI based 3D imaging things on your phone can actually do that quite well. So it's reactive lighting. It's really well done. But the lighting was at the wrong angle. So where they showed a shadow, for example, on the base of this thing, it was pretty close to the ground, the way they depicted it. And I say depicted because this was fake. The light was behind them, and it didn't alter. The shadow stayed the same. It didn't change with anything. So, graphic programs and AI haven't quite figured out all the lighting mechanics yet. They're getting closer. They're getting better. Probably in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, we won't be able to tell the difference easily. But until then, you can't fool this guy. So again, I guess wrapping up, Jeremy Corbell's warning, I think, has legitimacy. Whether 2027 is our year or the schedule got moved up, like he said, that's entirely possible. I did work for the government for a little bit. I know schedules do change with needs. And even something big like fooling the entire planet probably has a schedule, and it has a flexible schedule, and a plan B, and a plan C, and a plan D, and a plan Z, all the way to plan Z, I should say. I meant to say. So don't think there aren't contingencies out there. I think we are being tested to one degree or another, be that by an alien intelligence or by a local intelligence. I leave that to you. Personally, I'm thinking local intelligence, at least with regard to the New Jersey drones. And a funny little side note about the New Jersey drones way back when, is there was a scare. There was something that the nuclear task force actually had access to drones. Not everyone knew that. And the scare was in subtle whispers throughout the internet, and I was there for some of it. I didn't initiate whispers. I just kind of listened like I normally do. And it was that there was a loose nuke somewhere in the eastern seaboard, and there was a potential concern of a suitcase nuke somewhere in that area. And that's where the drones were out there. They were scanning everything. So if I'm going to accept a scenario, I'm going to accept that one because I know it makes more sense than anything else. Probing our sense of reality in this world of ours, everyone's got a camera now. Someone's going to call you out on it. And if everyone has a camera, sorry, there's a little hair there. That means you have 1,000 angles of the exact same thing. You can tear it apart, debunk it, or prove it. for that matter. Okay. I'm done blathering. This has been the Mish Mosh #1. And my name is Tim Sedano. It says so right there in the corner. And this is Paranormal Insight. And I am signing off. Thank you very much, everyone. This is sorry for the pre-record. We'll try and go live as soon as possible. With the holidays and everything, that might be a little bit tough, but we'll try and make it happen. Okay, until next time. Take care. It's not stopping. What a great sign off, and then I messed it up. So, take care, everyone. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.